We continue with the next book of the Treyasar, the book of Yonah, Jonah and the fish, right? Vayhi dvar Adonai el Yonah ben Amitai lemor. And the word of God came to Yonah, the son of Amitai lemor. Amitai, an important word in this book, because of the first three letters, emet, truth. This book, a lot of the questions of the book is related to the idea of truth. And is God truthful? Is Yonah truthful? So God comes and he speaks to Yonah. Who is this person? So we did meet a prophet named Yonah ben Amitai during the reign of, I believe it was Yeravam II, during the First Temple period, Northern Kingdom. He came and he helped to, he told the king in chapter 14 to go and to wage war and battle, and they restored the territory that had previously belonged to the northern kingdom, the kingdom of Ephraim. So presumably it's the same Yonah ben Amitai. We're not told too much about it, but it would make sense in terms of, right, he's told to go, we know, in a moment, to Nineveh. This would make sense at the time. It's a little earlier than when Nineveh becomes this major capital and a city, Babylon, et cetera, but it would be around that time, so it would make a lot of sense. It's about probably the 8th century before the Common Era would be around that time. Okay, so let's see what God says to him, which we know, of course, already. Go and proclaim in the city of Nineveh. Go and tell them what you're supposed to tell them, because their wickedness had come before me. Right? Sounds a lot like Sodom. God talks about the wickedness of Sodom come before him. It sounds a little like Migdal Bavel as well. Vayakam Yonah livroach tarshisha milifnei Adonai. And what does Yonah do? Yonah goes and he tries to run away to Tarshish. Tarshish, it's you have to take a boat. If you're going to Babylon from Israel, you don't have to take a boat. You travel by land. He's going up to the coast to travel in a boat in the opposite direction towards in the Mediterranean, towards Greece or something of that sort. Now, if we look here, also interestingly, in the beginning of verse 2, the word look is kum. Kum here, it says go, but it also means to go up, to rise. Vayakam, the opening word of verse 3, vayakam, to go up. And what happens then? So Yonah gets up, but to run away from God. And then we go from Vayakam, to get up, in the middle of verse 3, Vayered Yafo, he went down to Jaffa. Vayimsa Onia ba Tarshisha vayitein scharav ered ba lavoi mahem Tarshish l'fnei Adonai. So he goes and he finds a ship going to Tarshish. He pays the fare, and he gets aboard to sail with them to Tarshish, away from God, away from what God has asked him to do. It's not so easy to escape from God. V'Adonai hetil ruach gedola el hayam v'yisar gadol bayam v'oniya chishva lihi shaver. But God cast a mighty wind into the sea, and there was the terrible storm, and it seems that the boat might sink. Vayiru hamalachim vayizaku ish el Elohav vayatilu et hakelim asher b'oniya el hayam lakel me'alehem. So what happens is all the people on the boat, all of the sailors, they're crying out to their own gods, and they're throwing cargo overboard to help to make sure that the boat doesn't capsize, and that's what they're doing. And meanwhile, we're still in the middle of verse 5. Yonah yarad el yarktei asfina vayishkav vayeradam. But Yonah, he went down to the hole, to the belly of the ship, and he lays down and he falls asleep. Here we see again Yonah down. Yonah's going down. God wants Yonah to go up. Yonah's going down, and Yonah is not paying attention. Everybody else is terrified, and he doesn't even pay attention. Vayikra v'elav Rav HaChovel. The captain comes and finds him. Vayarmelo malachan yerdam. And he says to him, how could you be sleeping? Like, hey, how is it possible? The boat's rocking back and forth. Do you have a waterbed at home? Like, how is it possible that you are sleeping physically, but more so, like, how is it possible that you're not scared, that you're not terrified, that you're not praying to your God? Kum. Same word as God. Get up, cry Elohecha, call out to your God. Ulai yitasheta Elohim lanu velo noved. Perhaps your God will be kind to us, and we will not perish, we will not die. Vayamru ishal re'ehu. And so now they go back up, and all of the different sailors are saying to each other, L'chu v'napila goralot v'nei da'a Bishalmi hara'a hazot lanu. And they say, let's cast lots, and whoever is going to get the winning number or the losing number, I guess in this case, we'll know that he's the one who is responsible. How this works, I don't know. Why it would work, I don't know, but it does. Vayapilu goralot, and so they cast lots. Vayipala goral al Yonah, and the goral falls on Yonah. Vayirmu elav. Hagidana lanu ba'asher lemihara azot lanu mamlachcho me'ayin tavo ma'artzecha v'ei mizeh amat. And they tell us, what have you done? What could you have possibly done? Where are you from? Who are you? That this whole boat is going to be destroyed because of you. Vayomer alehem. And he says to them, Ivri anochi. He says, I am a Hebrew. And I worship the God of heaven, the God of the world, the God who made both the sea and the dry land. Right? This is not a dualism. There's not a God of the sea, a God of the dry, and a different God of the dry land. There's not a God of the day and a God of the night, a God of light, a God of darkness. This is no dualism. It's the one God. And he says, I'm here. I worship the one God. And he's basically saying I must have done something wrong. Vayiru ha'anashim yira gdola. And the men were terrified. Vayiru elav mazot asita. And they said to him, what have you done? He told them, he tells them he's an Ivri, and then in this verse, it's clear that he tells them that God wanted him to do something, but he decided not to listen to what God wanted, and he decided to run away. And so they're terrified. And they say, well, how could you do this? And they said to him, and they said to him, what can we do to calm the sea? Because it's growing, it's only getting worse. The boat is rocking back and forth, and it's only getting scarier and more frightening. Vayomer alehem, and he says to them, Sa'uni v'tiluni el hayam, vayishtok hayam me'alechem. He says, just throw me overboard, and the sea will calm down. God's not after you, God's after me. Ki yodea ani, we're in the middle of verse 12, because I know ki b'sheli asara gadol azah alechem. I know that this is happening to you because of me. You guys didn't do anything. This is all because of me. I ran away from God. You can't run away from God. And so the men, they break out all of their oars and, I don't know, switch their sails around or whatever it might be. And they try their hardest to go back to shore. But they're not able. Because the terrible storm that's going on. And they cry out to God. Ana Adonai alna novda banefesh ha'isha hazev al titein aleinu dam naki ki ata Adonai kasher chafatzta asita. And they cry out, but earlier they all each cried out to their own God. Now they're crying out to the God. And they say to God, don't let us perish, don't let us die on account of this man's life. Don't hold us guilty of killing an innocent person. For you, God, have brought this about, right? We don't want to throw him overboard. We'll be responsible for his death. How could we do such a thing? So they are sort of asking God, and this is their admission. They're about to do it, and they're saying, it's not our fault. This is something that we have to do. He told us to do it. We know that this is what needs to happen for the sake of the rest of our lives. Vayisu Yonah, and so they pick up Yonah, vayatilu el hayam, and they throw him into the sea, vayamod hayam mizapo, and the sea stops raging. And the men feared greatly. They feared God greatly. And they offered sacrifices to God, and they made vows, either vows to bring sacrifices or just general vows about how to live their lives in the service of this God who they see clearly runs both the Yam and the Yabasha, runs the dry land and the sea, and is in charge of everything. And interestingly, we talked earlier about Kum versus Yored, to go up and to go down. The Yored sounds like Vayidru. It has the same letters, Yud Resh Daled, Yud Daled Resh. It's just the Daled and the Resh are switched. So Yonah here is going down, down, down. And the men who encounter him and through him understand the greatness of God, they come to be offering vows towards God. And so here we have the opening chapter. It's a very curious chapter. There are lots of questions, and of course, so many times have been asked about it. Why is Yonah running away? What's the reason? Why is he doing this? We'll see an answer that's going to be revealed later. What's the problem? A prophet has to go and do what God tells him to do, we believe. That was one of the themes that we saw just in the book of Amos recently, where Amos was saying, right? Amos was saying that I have to say this. I can't hold back from saying this. This is what's necessary. Remember, there was a character in the book whose name escapes me, who says to Amos, go back to Yehuda and go offer your prophecy there, go make your living there. And he says, I'm not a prophet, I'm just a cattle herder, a sheep herder. God has placed his spirit into me, and I have to say these words. So the prophecies, usually when the prophet gets a command from God, they have to go do it. And so this is a strange book in terms of Yonah doesn't want to listen to God. And it's also a strange book, and we'll see if we can get to this answer or not over the next couple of days. Why is this book in the Tanakh? This is not a story about the Jews. It's a Jewish prophet going to Nineveh. What does that have to do with us? Why is it in our story? Yesterday we had a book that was to Edom, and we could say, well, Edom was making fun of Bnei Israel, and we've had multiple times in these different books where the destruction of Edom is supposed to bring some sort of comfort to Israel. The destruction of their enemy should pave the way for our redemption. But this book, right, Yonah he's going the wrong way now, but now he's down in the sea, but he's going to Nineveh. There's no contact here with anybody in Bnei Israel. There's no king. There's no King Yeravam. There's no other people that are here. And so, why is this book in the Tanakh? Is one of the great questions asked about this book. Hopefully, we'll get to some of those answers, or answers to some of these questions. Over the next couple of days.